Are you tired of self-doubt holding you back? Have you ever wished you could have the confidence to face your fears, go after your wildest dreams, and the tools necessary to live your best life? Hey there, amazing listeners. I'm your host and author of How to Grasp Confidence and Own Your Power. And I've made it my mission to help you break free from self-doubt and embrace confidence. Subscribe now and join us as we unlock the secrets to unshakable self-assurance. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today to Grasp Confidence Podcast. One of the best, if I might say so myself, personal development podcasts out there. Why? It's not because of me, it's because of my guests. I interview the world's best guests. I say this every time, all the time, but it couldn't be more true. Today is no exception. I have the amazing Shantel Love. I love your last name, by the way, Shantel.
Thank you.
On the show with us, and we're doing a little bit different today. We're going live. So let's get comments going, and we will answer them as they come in. If you have any questions for myself or my guest, but let us know where you are in the world, what part of the USA you're in, if you're in the States, or internationally, where are you watching from, right? But let's get into it. My next guest has a Cinderella story that is guaranteed to inspire each one of you today. It's a story of resilience, overcoming challenges, and going on to living exceptional growth her way. Welcome, Shantel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to share this space with you.
It is exciting. It's like fun. You know, we were talking about it. This is our first time meeting each other. We met 2 minutes ago. It's already natural, right? This is how it is. Everybody's so afraid to go on live and do podcasts until they do it. It's really not that bad, is it?
Right.
But it's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to grow your brand, right? We are both personal branding gurus. I know that about you. And it's a great way to keep showing up and meet new people. But building a brand is not easy. It takes a lot of confidence, Shantel. I don't know about you, but for a long time I struggled with confidence. And when I was starting this personal brand journey, I was like, oh my God, I have to be seen? What? What's that?
I know.
All right. I would love your thoughts. I would love your thoughts on it.
Yes, this is so important to me because I am one of those individuals who identify as a high and overachiever. And that's why we connected right away. And I've had a great deal of success in my career, and a lot of my identity was tied into my work. And there was a point in my life where I had what I refer to as awakening. There was a period in my life that lasted about 2 years where I went through a moment. I don't know if it was depression. I don't know if it was an epiphany. I don't know if it was a restarting. But I realized that I didn't know who Shantel Love was without work, without job, without being attached to an executive title, without building an organization. So I went on this journey to figure out who I was. And it wasn't easy because when you're thinking about who I am, you think about what everyone else thinks about you. But I really had to get to the core of what I thought about myself. And yes, there were moments that I cried. Yes, there were moments that I questioned myself. There were more than unfortunate negative moments than me just saying, Shantel, you're damn good at what you do and who you are, right? And that was kind of hard to say because we've been conditioned not to promote ourselves and not to be confident, if you will. And I lacked confidence going through it. On the outside, I looked like I had it going on, but in the inside, I was struggling. And aware of that struggle that I was having at that level, it really made me lean into building my personal brand, how I wanted to be seen, how I wanted to show up, what legacy I wanted to leave. And I found out that there were a lot of other people, specifically women and people of color that I work with, that also struggle with the same. And it was important for me to share my story, create a space, and help them realize that their stories are just as powerful. Their experiences are just as valuable, if not more valuable. And the more that they lean into their stories and their confidence, and I know that you speak a lot about confidence, Tara,
Yeah.
once they lean into it and realize that they can be confident, that's when the growth actually happens. You don't have to be perfect, even in your confidence. You have to believe in yourself and you have to take step forwards in order to see that change. So that's how my personal branding evolved. And that's how I started to help my clients and my mentees get to that point of realizing the value of their story and why they need to build a personal brand.
Couldn't have said it better, Mike. And what's interesting too, I think everybody perceives, oh, you've always been confident because you have this personal brand. I hear this all the time, Shantel. People ask me, I can't wear red lipstick. I'm not that confident. You talk about, I'm like, hey, it's an evolution, right?
Yes,
Now,
it is.
a transformation can absolutely happen. And, we hinted on the Cinderella story, but I feel like a lot of people think I need to get confident first.
No.
Chantel, you don't get confident first at anything, do you? Work and a lot of persistence, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I wish it was the other way around.
Tell me about it. And I think if it were the other way around, we wouldn't have a space to talk about it because everyone will be way too confident.
Yep. It does not work that way, folks. Confidence and competence come through action, right? We're not going to be confident first. And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs falter with. Anybody, leaders, they think I have to be a good leader first. I have to be a smart business and savvy business person. You're never going to be anything first without trying. It doesn't happen. And with confidence, you're never going to be confident before you do an activity, right? So it's building a personal brand, but that's not easy for somebody that came from humble beginnings a lot of time. That's not easy for somebody that has had adversity in their past. Again, that kind of weighs on our confidence a little bit more.
Right.
But it's especially not easy from somebody with a harder background and a kind of a Cinderella type of story. So I've teased that enough, I think. I would love to hear more about this evolution that you've been on. How did you get to this point? What was your story?
Oh, let me see. How much time? One of the things that I do want to call out, because you made a really good point. Personal branding shouldn't be so hard. And when we think of the human experience, we do hard things. All of us. I'm sure if you sat down and you wrote a list down of all of the hard things or all of the things you thought were impossible, you would surprise yourself. You would surprise yourself to say, at that moment, I thought that it was impossible, but I actually did it. I think about the hard things that I've done, and I will share the story of how I started to gain more confidence, even in the space where I lacked confidence. In 2020, I got my dream job. I got promoted into a global vice president at an ed tech company, and it's the role that I've been gunning for years. And in my head, I visualized this role. It was perfect. I had a solid strategy. Everything was picture perfect. Then the pandemic hit. And I found myself at home building a remote organization with my then 2-year-old son on my lap, stressed, overwhelmed. My husband had just got a new job, his dream job too. So we were living the dream. But I started to think to myself, there was no space in my dream where it consisted of my son sitting on my lap, building an organization with a VP title. But then I started to think about the hard things that I've done in my life. While it was hard in that time and it felt nearly impossible, I think about everything that people told me that I couldn't be.
Mm.
I was the product of a single parent teenage household. My mom had me at 15 years old. She had my next sister at 17 and my next sister at 18. So three kids by the time she was 18 years old. And my mom is amazing. We grew up below the poverty line. My mom held down three minimum wage jobs and went to school to get her college degree. It was hard. I grew up poor in Detroit, and I knew and I know what it feels like to grow up poor and not feel safe and secure in my own home. I know what it feels like to worry about how I'm going to pay my bills because I don't know where my next check is coming from. Fear of not having enough money or the right clothes or being judged. And these circumstances were fuel to my fire. They were fuel for me to dream wildly. Because while I lived in that circumstance in a multi generational home, my family told me what I could be. And so I dreamed. I wanted to choose where I lived and build a house in the desert where I live right now. I wanted to pay off my mortgage and have passive income by renting out other properties so that I can bear the fruits of financial freedom. I did that. I wanted to become an entrepreneur because I know the freedom associated with building my brand, building my presence, and sharing my genius. But everything around me told me that I couldn't be. And I bring this up because confidence is not where we start. Confidence is not where we end. Confidence is a journey, and I'm still on that journey. There is going to be something that's going to be bigger or greater that puts me in a space where I question my confidence. And I know Tara has an amazing framework to help work through that. But at the end of the day, regardless of where you were, you are not your past. And regardless where you are today, it doesn't mean that you have to stay where you are. It starts with surrounding yourself with amazing people. It starts with believing. It starts with accepting that it's okay not to be okay. I was a hot mess express, and it is okay. So I love this space, and I love the fact that everyone has a story. You just have to believe and be confident enough to share it.
So many claps for you. All of that. It's perfect, right? This is the reality. A lot of people have gone through adversity. A lot of people have gone through trauma and challenges in our lives. And you and I have a very similar upbringing. So I am the youngest child of five, raised by a single mother, and much of my childhood was below the poverty line. I know what that feels like. And there's a lot of people that when I started to rise to success, still thought of me as that person, the kid who was the poor kid, right? I was always the poor kid. I was always the kid that wore the hand-me-downs to school, right? I know what that feels like. And we can stay that way, or we can evolve and transform. And ultimately, it's a choice that we all have to make. That choice of, I want this better life, I deserve this better life. And then, getting the confidence along the way as we take the action steps to become that person we want to be. But Shantel, I've seen it. Oh, plenty of people. And, sometimes the higher we rise in success, the more we hear about it, right? They still think of us as that same person because those people may not have evolved like we have. And that's okay. There's no judgment. Just be conscious and cognizant of the people you tell your dreams to and the people you surround yourself with, right?
That is no truer statement. There was a quote that I used to carry with myself. It was something like, I may butcher it, but it says, if you want to diminish your dreams, tell your dreams to a small-minded person.
Yep. Absolutely. If you want to diminish your dreams and, not achieve the success you want, tell it to small-minded people and they'll convince you that you're crazy, right?
Right.
Yeah. Everything is crazy until it's done anyway.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? And then it's done and people think you're a genius.
And then they go back to, you did say you were going to do it. I didn't think that you were going to do it, but
Uh-huh.
you did it.
Absolutely, right? People thought I was crazy. I remember when I was writing my book and it had not been even sent to the editor yet. And I got on Fox News and landed a TED Talk, and the book was still a Word document on my desktop. But I knew in my heart that didn't matter. In my
Right.
heart, it was already done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the mentality we have to have. We can't listen to the naysayers around us that says, "Oh, but wait, wait,
We
wait,
don't have time to wait.
what are we waiting all this time for?"
Right.
Right?
We don't have time to wait.
Nope, we sure don't. But your story proves to me that you can go from anywhere. You know, you grew up in Detroit. Your mom had you at 15. That was hard. You grew up below the poverty line. You faced uncertainty. You faced fear and
Mm-hmm.
scarcity.
Yeah.
And that money mindset is real hard. That was hard for me, Chantel. I don't know about you, but it took a long time, longer than I want to admit, time for me to go out of that scarcity mindset to one of abundance and
Mm-hmm.
expansion. What was your experience with that?
Yeah. So, out of the scarcity mindset, stability became something that I strive for,
Yes.
something that I yearn for. And it created a person in me that would not ever put her stability at risk. And what that looked like working jobs that didn't make any sense. I remember, and I used to be embarrassed about this. I remember after getting my MBA, it was right after the housing market crash. I couldn't find work. And with an MBA, with a track record of proven success, with just an amazing skill set, my thought process was, you need to go to the Army. I know it sounds crazy. It was like, okay, if you go to the Army and you enlist, at least you have a stable job. And now thinking back to it, it was crazy, but my default setting was stability. And part of the reason why dreaming was so important to me was realizing that if stability was that important to me, how can I create a stable life? It led to me paying off a 30-year mortgage in 5 years and knowing that I did not have to worry. And once I realized that I can be in control of my security, my peace of mind, my well being, it allowed me to give more. Because when you're in the scarcity space, you keep everything to yourself. You don't want to give. You worry that you're not going to get it from any other source. So you keep it close. You're scared to give it away. And then it put me in a place where I was able to donate and give offerings to community services and church organizations. And what I learned once I put myself in that space of abundance, the more I gave, the more I got back. And it wasn't just monetarily. It was like sharing my gifts, sharing my expertise, sharing my genius, sharing my intellectual property that I used to keep and hold hostage because of the way that I was raised, the fear of not having, knowing what it feels like to not have the lights on and not having running water. Basically, some moments of my life felt like I lived in a third world country because we did not know where our next meal was coming from. So having those experiences in your mind and having those lived experiences, it's hard to escape that. But it can be something that you use as fuel to your fire to let you know that was then. You can put systems in place to get you to the point, all of you, your mindset, your body, your being, to get you to that space where you realize that you do not have to be in a space of scarcity for the rest of your life. But it was hard for me, Tara, admittedly. This is all new. Maybe the last 5, 6 years, even after paying off my home, I would say I backslided into those spaces of going back to the person that I used to be versus accepting the new person that I am. But it's not easy. It is not easy, especially if you know what it feels like to have absolutely nothing.
Yes. It's not easy. It's a practice. You have to do it every single day. And
Yeah.
I catch myself doing it, right? The I guess the miracle of confidence, if you will, is that it helps you reframe, right? The
Yeah.
miracle of confidence and just developing your mindset in general. So if those negative thoughts do come into my mind, I can immediately reframe them now so they don't become a reality. So, for example, if I catch myself saying, I can't afford that,
Mm-hmm.
say, nope, that's a limitation that allows me not to grow. I
Yeah.
say, how can I afford this? If
Right.
I know I need something, especially for my business, because that's easy as entrepreneurs to just, oh, I can just do everything myself.
Yes.
You can't. I promise. I don't know who you are, but you can't do everything yourself, right?
No.
And we don't have to. That's the beauty of it. But you get in that kind of trapped mindset where you say, I can't afford this, instead of saying, how can I afford this? And
Exactly.
honestly, can I afford not to do this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Now,
I love every piece of that because my inner saboteur, she has
yeah,
a name, it's Big Bertha. And sorry for all the Berthas out there, but her name is Big Bertha. And sometimes she sounds like, and I tell my clients all the time, sometimes your inner saboteur can sound exactly like faith, and it could sound like fear, like it's the same voice. But what I've learned, just as you were mentioning, I've learned how to question the merit in the doubts. I learned how to question the merit in what feels like lack of confidence, and I've learned to reframe. So in those instances, like where I would say I can't afford, or if it starts with I can't, right? I'm just gonna go there. If it starts with I can't, I go through a process where I'm questioning the merit, like where is this coming from? How can I? Have I done something similar before? Or what proof do I have that this is not impossible? And sometimes it sounds the same, but you have to close your eyes sometime. And I've had some colorful words for Big Bertha, I'll be honest with you. But you have to learn how to question the merit in that doubt or in that lack of confidence.
absolutely. And you know what? For anybody's benefit who's listening to this, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever has or ever will. So, and most of the time, doubt kills the dream before you even start, right?
Mm-hmm.
It tells you everything that's going to go wrong. And ultimately, you're not thinking of a present in the present mind when you're experiencing, doubt and insecurities. You're thinking about either the future, what could go wrong in the future, what have you done in the past that will lead you the same thing's going to happen to me again. I'm just going to fail again.
Yes.
And ultimately, we're not living in that present mind, and we're sacrificing all of our creative potential when we do that, right? And we can't build this way. This is not how we grow. So it's really important to understand and recognize those patterns when they come up in those voices, as you said.
Yes.
So that, and even putting a label on them. You have a name for yours. I like that. I don't have a name for mine yet. Maybe we should name her on the show.
Oh yes, yes. I want to see. I want to hear the name.
I don't even know yet. But we all have them, right? And I think that's another misconception about confidence is that, people think, oh, well, you wrote a book on confidence. I get this too. You wrote a book and did a TED Talk on confidence, but you still say that you have some issues with confidence sometimes. I'm like, well, I'm a human being.
Yes, right.
I'm not a perfect vessel, right? I'm only a human being. And if I said, hey, you'll never have confidence issues again, I'd probably be trying to sell you something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's not how it works. It's a lifestyle change. It's a progression. It's a transformation. And it's at your own pace and journey.
Right.
right? And I don't think there's any level of 100% confidence attained. Ding, 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 you win a prize,
No.
right? I'm pretty sure it's too hard, right? There's all these outside forces and adversities in our lives that are just, sometimes they feel like we're just being pinged and, from every angle. But confidence kind of gives you that a little bit more of a suit of armor to deal
Mhm.
with it. Doesn't mean you're impermeable, right?
Right.
But it just means you have a little bit more protection. That's the way I look at it.
Mm.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah. I'm a visual person, so when you say words like armor and protection,
Yeah.
like I see it like gearing up,
Yeah.
um, and I love that visual.
Yeah. It kind of does feel like you're going into battle.
Hmm. Every
And
day,
every
every
day,
day.
every day. I talk about this in my book. I use the analogy because I'm a visual person as well.
Hmm.
A sword starts out as a blunt object that's just metal, a metal piece. It really wields no power. But you stick it through the fire and you beat it with hammers and you shape it. And then all of a sudden, that blunt metal object becomes a deadly weapon.
Mm.
But it had to be forged through fire. It had to be beaten and kind of shaped, right? And refined. So right now, if you're lacking confidence, you may kind of feel like that blunt object. Maybe you don't feel purposeful. Maybe you feel dull.
Hmm.
Go with those adversities and look at the lessons of what they're teaching you and see if that's not refining you to be that confident person you're actually meant to be. It's kind of how I like to think of it. What do you think about that, Chantel?
Mm. And it has so many competing thoughts in my head right now because it's such a powerful, it's so metaphorical, right? And when you think about successful people, like you see the end product, but you don't necessarily see what they went through. And I was talking to my husband not too long ago about an interview with Jeff Bezos on Jay Leno. And he was on the show, and Jay Leno kind of laughed him off the show because he was talking about how many millions, near billions, that he lost trying to build this enterprise. And Jay Leno said something to the likes of, "Why do I even have you on my show?" And this is before the Jeff Bezos that we know. And I think about the journey that I've been on in life and hearing your journey as well. Just like the sword that we see as the finished product that everyone mesmerizes over and they want to hold it as this badge of protection, we went through a journey where we had to endure the beatings, if you will, and the shaping and the molding and having to go through the fire to get to what everyone sees here today. And, I think that that's so powerful. You hear more of the success stories at the end, but what it really takes for someone to be successful is what you don't see, what they don't tell you. The moments where they're up late at night questioning why they're doing this, the rejection after rejection. And I've turned rejection into my superpower because I know that as a function of being rejected, a function of failing, at the end of that, I'm learning something, I'm growing, and the rejection is not me, right? And when you think of all of those things, you call it a fire, i.e., rejection, the beatings, i.e., staying up at night, questioning yourself. You have to unfortunately go through those things to get to that end, which ultimately is what we see as a successful being, someone who's persevered and didn't allow those things to stop them from progressing forward. So that's what my immediate reaction is. I mean, it's so poignant, it's so powerful, and it's so relatable into what we see at the end of the day as success, but what we don't necessarily talk about that gets people to that point of success.
Absolutely, 100%. And I'm with you on the failure thing. It used to be something that I was afraid of too. I have a fear of rejection. I think a lot of people do. And let me tell you, I've been rejected so many times that fear has gone away because
Right. All right, come on. What's the next rejection? Come on, because I know
Doesn't
it's something
surprise me.
greater on the other side. Come, bring it.
I'll probably get rejected again today, and I'm all right with it, right?
Right.
It just means I'm trying. And if I wasn't getting rejected, that means I'm sitting in a stagnation point, not doing anything. So I'd rather be rejected than do nothing. But I'm with you. I've kind of turned the fear of failure and rejection on its head now. Where I actually thank God when I get rejected, because I say, you know what? That must mean something even greater,
Yes.
even
Yes.
bigger.
Yes.
Is just right around the corner. And if that would have actually happened, if that person wouldn't have rejected me, or if that whatever wouldn't have rejected me, then I wouldn't be freed up to do that real big thing that's already coming. And I say, you know what? Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
And I express
Mm-hmm.
gratitude,
Yes.
and you know what happens? It's inevitable, Shantel. You already know. The
Mm-hmm.
big thing is already on its way. And
Yes.
sometimes it's the phone call you get. Sometimes your phone will ding, or you get an email. Every time.
Every single time.
Every time without fail. Every time. And I just want people to understand that. You know, people look at successful people. They look at you. They look at me. They look at others and say, oh, that person doesn't get rejected. Or, oh, that person's not afraid. Every day I am. But I keep
Mm-hmm.
going in spite of.
Yes.
Right? You just keep going in spite of.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If I get rejected by somebody, I go after somebody else that maybe is a company that's even bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It keeps me leveling up
Yes.
in spite of.
Oh,
It's powerful.
very, very much so. And I want to say this for your audience and whoever's listening. That's what winners don't tell you. What
Yeah.
Tara just said, that is what winners don't tell you, especially when you're going through it, you're drudging the mud, you're unable to lift your legs up, but you have to keep pushing through it. And Tara, thank you for sharing it so succinctly, because that nugget there, so powerful, so powerful. And I didn't want anyone to miss it, because that's what winners don't tell you.
Winners don't, right? You see the glory. But I'm telling everybody right now, I fail more times than I care to admit. I can't count that.
Mm-hmm.
I simply can't, right?
Yeah.
But I just keep going. And it's okay, right? So that's when you know you're leveling up. That's when you know you're growing. And then use all those failures as a reframe to go after a bigger one.
Yeah.
You know what? You say, this person knocked me down. Who's 3 levels above that? And I'm going to reach out to them. And you know what? Watch what happens.
Right.
Watch what happens. And then come thank us when you get that big $80,000.
Yes. Yes.
Come thank Tara and Shantel. Right?
Come on, somebody. Yes. And I want to celebrate too. So
Yeah. Come thank us when you land that high ticket, whatever it is, right?
yes.
But Shantel, thank you so much for coming on the show today, sharing your incredible journey. True Cinderella story. True. Ultimate underdog. And look at where you are today, right? Shining, beautiful, executive, powerhouse lady who is actively pursuing her dreams and doing it for the world to see. You're not afraid anymore. You're out there, you're open, you're visible. And this is how it should be. We shouldn't be hiding in shadows. It doesn't matter what our past was. It does not dictate who we could be.
Right.
Unless we allow it that power. Shantel, great episode. Thank you so much for being a guest. And thank you for everyone who watched and tuned in today. We will catch you guys on the next episode. Don't forget to leave a review on wherever platform you listen. Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Audible. We love reviews. We love hearing from our fans. So don't forget to leave a review, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode of Grasp Confidence. Thank you for joining me today and investing in yourself. Remember, building confidence is an ongoing journey, and each step you take brings you closer to the empowered, fearless version of yourself that you were born to be. Don't forget to visit my website, follow me on social media, and purchase my book, which is available on Amazon. Thank you for listening. We will see you on the next episode. Stay confident.